There was a document that was released that indicates an Epstein victim filed a child pornography complaint against Epstein all the way back in 1996. And as we know, Epstein wasn't convicted in Florida until 2008, which is more than a decade later. What are your thoughts on this? And do you think that the FBI needs to answer for anything here?
Well, I do think the FBI needs to answer for a great deal of this. And I think, however, that we can't really hold them to the fire until we see all of the FBI files, so we can see in their entirety exactly what efforts were made to investigate these co-conspirators and why it took so long for these investigations to take place. But I want to give the government the opportunity to put out all of the material that they have in their hands before we can really intelligently draw questions from that. Now, the other part of the question that you raised was reference to the Epstein victim, Maria Farmer. Maria Farmer has come out publicly. She was the one who first alerted. She was the very first individual in the 90s to alert the FBI to Jeffrey Epstein. And she was extremely pleased last week when these documents were seen in the tranche of material that was released. Now, she was an art student. She had two younger sisters. And I don't know the specific circumstances, but Jeffrey Epstein was able to obtain photographs of her young sisters, one of them being Annie Farmer, who also is another Jeffrey Epstein victim, and also of Ghislaine Maxwell. In fact, Annie, the younger sister, testified. She was one of the four women who testified against Ghislaine Maxwell in the successful prosecution that put Ghislaine Maxwell behind bars for 20 years. Initially, Maria Farmer went to the FBI and said that Jeffrey Epstein had these partially nude photos of her two younger sisters and was sending these photos around, as far as she found out, to other individuals, and that this was child pornography. And in fact, her lawyer has told me over the years, Jennifer Freeman, that the FBI had a very black and white case to deal with back in the 90s. They could have convicted Jeffrey Epstein of child pornography charges. And according to Jennifer Freeman, Maria Farmer's lawyer, this would have been a very easy case to have made against Jeffrey Epstein and could have put him behind bars for a period of time, which would have cut into and would have stopped, in fact, the sex trafficking that took place for 2 decades. So, you know, these are all missed opportunities that the FBI had and the Palm Beach police had to put Jeffrey Epstein behind bars much earlier. What's also interesting about that Palm Beach police report from December 2001 is, why didn't the Palm Beach police really take on Ghislaine Maxwell as part of that initial prosecution against Jeffrey Epstein? They pretty much just focused on Jeffrey Epstein. And at that time, there were 40 victims that they were able to identify. And of course, that led to the notorious non-prosecution agreement, which only put him behind bars under a Florida prosecution of solicitation of a minor. So we have to wonder why why the Palm Beach police did not charge Ghislaine Maxwell very early on, when they had information about her in terms of recruiting women, going back to college girls, going back to 2001.